the Mormon underwear, when I
don't know what this is. Cindy tried to explain it to me, and I'm not understanding.
I'm like, Amy's got to tell you about the Mormon underwear.
They're just they're like boxer briefs, but instead of going to mid thigh, they go down to your knees. But it's for both men and women,
like bloomers.
Yeah, and then t-shirts for both men and women, and then you wear, for women, wear their bras over it. So you can Google search it. It's all online. I don't want to.
Right.
But I remember getting my first pair of Mormon underwear, and I actually thought, oh, this is going to cure me.
Oh.
And it did a really good job for a long time. So, I mean.
Yeah.
Because you knew the women were wearing them as well.
Well, there's different styles and cuts for men and women. But I like where your head is at, Jen.
Yeah. So you were not raised Mormon. Like
no.
This is some, okay, yeah.
I grew up a Midwestern Lutheran.
Okay. Also, does your family still practice?
My ex-wife and my youngest daughter both go to church, outside of the pandemic. I mean, church is closed right now.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, they're still practice and go,
Yeah.
Being here in Rochester, I mean, the people we know here at the, in the Mormon church here are fantastic people. We do dinners, done dinners together, kids play together. I mean, so it's a very tight-knit community, and, their kids have become, our friends within the Mormon community here become cousin-like with our kids. So
that's awesome.
And my oldest daughter, even though she doesn't go to church anymore, she's still, a lot of her friends here locally in Rochester are still the ones that she grew up with in the LDS church, and and they still get along and do stuff. So it's been a great network for us here, because we don't have family here in Rochester. So
right. So how about like with your transitioning? What's the acceptance? Do you?
For the most, so I always divide this into a couple different categories. So, if you look at like high level Mormon theology and leaders, the Mormon church is very centralized structure that leads back to Salt Lake City. And the high level leaders, I have a great disdain for. I don't hide it. I don't temper that. They've said that basically they came out with a new policy about 2 months ago that basically said, well, if you are transgender, don't be transgender. I'm just boiling this down to really quick, and if you start hormone replacement therapy, I would be, this is the way I interpret it. What it basically said is, if you start hormone replacement therapy, you just need to dress as the gender you were born as. So the expectation would be for me is that I would come to church in a suit and tie. And that would be very stressful, bring on a lot of gender dysphoria. Unfortunately, if that were to, if I were ever in that situation, I would deal with it, but it would be hard. But for, 14, 15, 16-year-old trans kid going through that, that's a lot to put on them. And so it was basically, well, you can be trans, but just don't look trans.
Oh, okay.
So, and that kind of fits the narrative.
It's kind of half-assed accepting, right? Like,
yeah.
We accept you, but not openly.
Yeah, but not openly. So, I have some huge issues with that. But the flip side of that is like your day-to-day Mormon going through the world, just navigating life. I'm not going to say I haven't had any issues here with a few members, because I have, but 99 plus % of my interactions have been all very positive.
That's awesome.
And very good. The unfortunate thing is, and I've said this before, is like, but because the high level leaders of the Mormon church say that, gender is gender, male, female, that's it, whatever the Bible reads on that, that gives cover to the bigots and the transphobes inside the church to act the way that they do towards the transgender population. And I know for a fact that here in Rochester, there are tens and I don't know how many tens, but we have a good number of gender nonconforming people here that, are either in the Mormon church or like me who have left. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I think it's like that with any religion. I mean, like that I'm not comfortable even. I grew up in the Catholic Church. Not my family never really practiced. It was more because that's where they wanted me to go to Catholic school as opposed to the public schools. But I'm not comfortable even in the church. Even if I have to go for like a wedding or something, I'm not comfortable because I don't know. I don't know.
No, and I mean, and to say
I have a bad taste in my mouth growing up with the whole religion thing too.
And I would say, you look at Catholics, evangelicals, your super Orthodox Jewish religions,
right?
They all kind of, but I would say if I were to put things on a ranking scale, I'd rather deal with the everyday Mormon than the everyday evangelical.
Oh, hello. That's a fact. That's a fact. So, do you plan on doing some facial surgeries and all of that?
So I have made that public. So I will talk about that. And I've also, I had one surgery already canceled and postponed because of the pandemic. And I was actually supposed to have gender confirmation surgery at the end of May in Syracuse.
Okay.
So, but just because of I got accepted into graduate school at SUNY Brockport to get my Master's of Science in Mental Health Counseling, I postponed that for a year.
Okay.
Actually going to try maybe to bump it up to like winter break and see if I can't get it done in December, right after finals. So we'll see. And then also facial surgery I have scheduled for August 17th.
Okay.
And so that's called facial feminization surgery. And believe it or not, I'm not going to do anything with my jawline, my chin. If I can get a rhinoplasty, I'm going to get a little that bump taken out. And then I have pretty long bangs right now, but I'm also going to try to get my brow shaved down a little bit. And then they're going to lower my hairline by about an inch, 2 centimeters is what they said. So that'll make a pretty significant impact. And of course, with the brow, they will do a little bit of a brow lift.
Your eyes are even going to get better, Amy.
We all want that, Amy.
Amy. Yeah, so the pandemic did put a hold on a lot on
on these quote unquote elective surgeries. But I know for a lot of trans people, these surgeries are life affirming and life saving.
Right.
So hopefully we can get back to them pretty quick. So my August surgery is supposed to be at Mount Sinai Hospital in Lower Manhattan. So
you'll be laughing.
Yeah, I spoke with the surgical coordinator there about a week ago, and she's cautiously optimistic. She said if I was betting on it, I would bet that your date's going to hold. But
so you're just hanging on, waiting to see, right?
She's like, if you don't hear from me, until like a month before surgery, that's good.
Good.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Well, the facial surgery is not that long of a recovery. It's like I was talking to a friend who had it at the beginning of the year.
Scalp is a lot.
Yeah. Most trans women do a lot of work on their jawlines, their chins, cheeks, and I'm not. And I'm really, other than the rhinoplasty, I'm not doing that much compared to. So the surgeon said when I met with her last year that the hard part will be the first week. But there'll be some bruising and swelling, for like a month afterward. But she's like, you should be able to get back to your normal self within a, week.
Wow.
2 weeks tops,
Yeah. So Amy, when do you start school? Have you started?
I'm going to start the week after Memorial Day.
Okay. And it's online right now? Is that how they're doing it?
Yeah, so I was kind of disappointed about that. I'd prefer to do in class, but to get started. So I'm going to start my master's classes online through SUNY Brockport here in about a month.
Okay, and then do you want to work with other trans?
Yeah, that was the whole basis of me, when I applied for the program was, they ask you, what's your vision? Why are you doing this? And my specific vision is to work with transgender kids or transgender adults, especially kids, and also their parents. I've noticed in speaking with parents, if you remember with my ex-girlfriend, her child is transgender, and she was a guest on our podcast and spoke about it in great detail. There's such a lack of resources available for transgender parents, or not transgender parents, parents of transgender children.
Right.
That, to have a counselor that, I don't have a child that's transgender, but to have that close experience, and I have a couple other friends who have kids that are trans as well, to be able to provide that resource to parents is really important, because so many of these kids are coming from religious backgrounds, and to be able to talk that. And what I need to get over is my own personal thought is I tend to think a lot like a lawyer, where I line up these arguments so I can line up all the scientific facts for somebody and hammer you with them. But when it comes to talking with somebody who's religious, they're going to say, yeah, but I don't trust that because the Bible says this.
Right.
So Jen's shaking her head here. And I know it's like, the Bible doesn't trump, for a lot of us, the Bible doesn't trump science, but for very conservative religious people, it does. And so, and I was talking to a friend who has a lot of experience with the Bible, who's gay. And when his thing is when I talk about being gay, I got to find stuff in the Bible that supports me and my life experiences, or else, the conservative Christians, the conservative religious person is going to tune me out right away. So I have to be able to speak their language. So I'm hopeful that the counseling will be able to help give me that language and those skills to really be able to bridge those worlds.
Well, I think you're going to be fantastic.
Thank you. I do as well.
I do. I think this is your calling. I do.
I feel like that too, and I almost didn't apply, but the deadline was the deadline for application was February 1st. So all of a sudden, the second week of January, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So
is it long scrambling?
It'll take me 2.5 to 3 years to get through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, it's a long time.
And what do you do now? You're just doing the coffee?
I make lattes at Starbucks.
You love it?
Oh yeah, actually I do. Actually, I was in insurance for 15 years, and then
insurance. Yep.
Yeah, and then with my transition, it's just I didn't have the passion or the drive for it anymore, and the counseling idea. The
passion.
Yeah. True. Some people do though, but they tend to be very money focused.
Yeah.
The money for me is nice, but mission and purpose is more important. So Cindy, you mentioned calling, so yeah. So I've been kicking this idea around in my head for a couple of years, and this is finally time to do it.
Yeah. Good for you, Amy. So I wanted to ask you though another question. All right. So once you started the hormone therapy, did you feel like you were did you get more did you feel more emotional? Like how?
Yes.
I know, serious. I mean,
well,
I
love a good rom-com now.
Did you just sit on the couch and cry at Pretty Women once it started?
We watched the First Wives Club last night. I'm like, go get them, bitches.
Such a good movie.
No, but like I said, my friend of mine who's transitioning, and he said that his so much has changed emotionally, that he thinks that it's for him it's the opposite. You know what I mean? He's just he's like I don't So you said that that they noticed that you're calmer. What is it that you were?
Yeah. So not that I was I just had that shorter fuse.
Yeah.
And it sounds like your friend on testosterone probably would say the same thing, that, but it was about 3 weeks after I started HRT. I was driving around here in Rochester. It was early August, beautiful sunny Saturday. And I remember sitting at a stoplight, about ready to turn left. And I can still see the vision of it. But it was like, there was this contentness and happy that just overcame me, that just flooded me. And that feeling has never gone away. I mean, I still have my ebbs and flows and my emotions and my, especially now during the pandemic, there are nights where I just want to lay in bed and suck my thumb and go to sleep. But I still have that overall peace and that feeling. And at the time, I was like, I know I've experienced this feeling